it will be only like 3 parshas. It will be Matos, one Shabbos, Masei, a different Shabbos, and Dvarim, the final Shabbos, Shabbos Parshas Chazon. This year we have really a lot of parshas that Rebbe points out. We have Parshas Balak, the first day of the first day of the 3 weeks, because Shabbos was Shivasar B'Tammuz. Then we have Parshas Pinchas last Shabbos. This upcoming Shabbos we're going to have Matos Masei, and then on Shabbos Tisha B'Av it's going to be Dvar. So the Rebbe is going to learn a lot out of all of these parshas, but Dvarim I don't remember right now if the Rebbe brings in Dvarim in the Sichos, but primarily the focus is going to be on Matos Masei and how these parshas read in the Torah on Shabbos. Since Shabbos is just the opposite of the 3 weeks, since Shabbos's message is Shabbos hints at the day that's totally Shabbos, the Shabbos of Mashiach's times. So therefore, the Shabbos is not a negative aspect in these parshas, but actually they are very positive in the parshas that are read on Shabbos, and they are like undoing and transforming the 3 weeks into days of joy. Okay, so we'll begin. We're not going to learn the titles. The titles are not from the Rebbe. Duber Kama, and also we're going to do a lot of skipping around because the Rebbe goes into many, many details over here. Duber Kama Parpam Rabbis was already spoken about many times. Al Divrei Shalom, and what the Shalom says, there's a connection between the Torah portions of the week to the time in the year in which the Torah portions read in the Torah in Shul on Shabbos, as well as when they are studied. We study it in Chitas, we study it throughout the week. Kach move on, so too, as self-understood, Gam Bekeshel of Parshas Matos Masei. So too also the connection of the Parshas Matos Masei and the Krois Talmud B'mei Ben Abtzadim, that's always read in the days of the 3 weeks. And there is a special, unique connection to the content of these days. And the Rebbe brings different types of things that are brought down in Sfarim about the content in those days. And a lot of it has to do with the negative aspect of the 3 weeks. We're going to skip that over and we're going to go to where the Rebbe speaks about the positive. Next page, he talks about, second paragraph, Yesh Loimar, we could say, that the connection between these Torah portions to the days of the 3 weeks, it's not only concerning the idea of exile that's hinted in these parshas, just the opposite. It's an empowerment for the avoida that's involved in the 3 weeks. What is our avoida during the 3 weeks? What are we trying to accomplish? We're not just crying over spilled milk. We're not just crying over the past. There's a purpose to our mourning. There's a purpose of the 3 weeks. The purpose of the 3 weeks is to bring us to L'Shem Yitziam and Agolus, to going out of Golus. So therefore, the parshas in the Torah, being part of the 3 weeks, the parshas that we read in these 3 weeks, are also an empowerment and also show us the way how to get out of Golus. The explanation for this is just like in the simple sense, just like all the laws of mourning does not apply at all in the days of Bein HaMetzarim, in the days of the 3 weeks when Shabbos comes out in the 3 weeks. You're not allowed to be sad on Shabbos. Just the opposite. Mitzvah la'angoy. It's a mitzvah to delight in it. The Rebbe often brings a psak din from his father. His father, Reb Leivik, was the Rav of the city of Yekaterinoslav in the Ukraine. And there was once someone that, for whatever reason, he used to wear, all week long, he used to wear slippers. So he asked Reb Leivik if during, and even on Shabbos, he would wear slippers. So I think it was the Shabbos of the 3 weeks, and he asked Reb Leivik, is he allowed to wear slippers during the Shabbos of the 3 weeks? Or maybe it was the Shabbos of 9 days. I think it was the Shabbos during the 3 weeks. And Reb Leivik told him he's not allowed to do so, because then someone might think that he's chas v'sholom mourning on Shabbos. So it's not just that mourning is not done on Shabbos, but you cannot even do something that may seem like it's mourning. And the Rebbe therefore says that on the Shabbos of the 3 weeks, we need to even be even happier than an ordinary Shabbos, so that no one should suspect that we are mourning on Shabbos chas v'sholom. From here we see that Shabbos is in no way affected and blemished in any way through the matters of Bein HaMetzarim. Bein HaMetzarim, the 3 weeks, do not affect Shabbos in a negative way. Kach, so it's to such a degree, even more so, when you actually look at it from the internal view, from the inner view of things. Like Tzemach Tzedek explains a very interesting thing. The Shabbos of the 3 weeks. It's like it says that Hashem precedes the medicine before the injury. The Shabbos of the 3 weeks is a preceding of joyousness and an image of the future time. It's connected with Mashiach's times, which is like a medicine to undo the 3 weeks. So just like the Shabbosim themselves are a medicine and something that is supposed to protect us from the 3 weeks, moving so to it's understood, concerning the Torah portions that are read at this time, in the Haftorah of Chazoin, the Haftorah of Shabbos Dvarim, it says over there, it concludes the Haftorah with the words that Tzion, meaning Yidden and Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, will be redeemed through Mishpat. Mishpat is the Torah, and its captives or returnees with Tzedakah. And the Rebbe therefore encouraged adding in the study of Torah and adding in the giving of Tzedakah during the 3 weeks, and especially so during the 9 days. The mishpat kana kavanah l'Torah. What is the intention over here in this pasuk? Tziyim b'mishpati pada. What does it mean that with justice it will be redeemed? It's talking about the justice and the study of Torah. Harei, and it's understood. Those Torah portions that are read and studied in this time, the Torah portions itself, not just the Shabbos, like the Tzemach Tzedek says, but the Rebbe adds the Torah portions that are read on the Shabbos are the preceding and the prefacing, the healing before the injury and the wound of Geulah. What does that mean in our words? Keloimar, this means to say, it's hayirah, it's a directive. V'chizuk, and it's a strengthening. La'avoida b'meid mein hamtzarim, to the avoida of the times of the 3 weeks. And which that avoid is, like we mentioned before, it brings to that eventually it should happen that the 3 weeks, instead of being days of mourning, they should be transformed to days of rejoicing and happiness and to Yom Tov. Now the Rebbe is going to talk about different details about the Matos Masei. And how Matos Masei adds and so on. So I'm going to skip a lot of the details. Let's go on further. We skipped a few pages to page 412. Second paragraph on page 12 is Dalet. Kvar dubar kam pamim rabes hayisoid. It's already spoken about many times based on the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. The name that something is called in the Holy Tongue, the name that something is called in Lashon Kodesh, it's the vitality, it's the life force, it's the energy of that item that is known by that particular name. The Roim is l'toichnoi. And it hints at the content of whatever is called by that Lashon Kodesh name. So too, it's in the names of the Torah portions. The inner content of the entire parsha, Ramus Bishma, is hinted in its name. in our topic. Ram was Teichna shel Parshas Matos. The content of the Parsha of Matos, Ram was Bishma, is hinted at its name, Lefi Minig Yisrael, according to the custom of Yisrael, to call it Matos. Kach Gam Legabe Parshas Masei, so too concerning Parshas Masei, it also is indicated and hinted what the content of that parsha is by the name Masei. The Rebbe goes on to explain what does Matos mean. The explanation for this is the Jewish people divided into the tribes, they have two names, Shvatim and Matos. They're called Shvatim and less commonly Matos, like at the beginning of our parsha. The Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu to tell the heads of the Matos, the heads of the tribes. Literally, a Mata is a staff. The head of the tribe, as his leadership position, was indicated by his staff, by his mata, similar to what it says concerning when they had to prove the primacy of Aaron over all the other shvatim. So every one of the Nesiim laid out their matas, their staffs in front of the Oil Moed. The mata is symbolic of the head of the Shevet and the Shevet in general. Hevdel b'neiim, the difference between a mata and a Shevet, move on metech mashma'usam b'mashal. It's understood by giving an example of what their meaning is. Shevet, the word shevet, who onaf shadayin rach. The word says yotza shevet. That shevet means a shoot, a branch. Means a branch. What a branch is still connected to the tree. It's still soft. It's still malleable. Ilumata, as opposed to a staff, humakil kosha. It's a hard and strong stick. The cause for this difference between a shevet and a mata. Shevet who on of shevet is still a branch that nurses from the tree. And sometimes it's still connected to the tree. Therefore, it's still moist and still soft. Ilu hamat, as opposed to a staff, Noitzer dafke kashara onav nichras only comes about, is only formed when you cut the branch off of the tree. It doesn't derive any more vitality from the tree. Therefore, he is hard. Similar to this, the difference between the two descriptions for Am Yisrael as Shvatim or Matos. Ein hamusig Shvatim v'hein hamusig Matos. Both the concept of a shevet and both the concept of a mata, of a staff, expresses the fact that the source of Jewish souls is in the root and the tree of godliness. Like it's the lashon of Kabbalah, shel ilana de la'ela, of the tree of above. The remez hatoyar shvatim, in the hint of the description specifically of Shvatim, that indicates the Neshama when it's still joined to godliness in a revealed way. When it's still cleaving to the tree of above. In a general manner, that description indicates the Neshama, it says, when it's found above. The bittul v'dveikis masmid alakus, a constant bittul and union and cleaving to godliness. That is when the Yidden are called Shvatim, when there is this joining in above the way the Neshamas are above. Ilu Matos, as opposed to the description Matos, B'tayres b'nei Yisrael kasher einam kshurim begolel al makir. This describes the Yidden when they're not openly revealed to their source. They're cleaving to godliness is not revealed. In a general way, this description indicates the neshama not the way it's above, but the way it descends down here below. The goof and nefesh to the body and the animal soul. It's as if it becomes separated from the tree of above. So too, the name of the parsha called Matos, it hints at Liyiridus Neshamas Yisrael, to the descent of Jewish souls. Va'afichasan ledavar, transforming to something megusham umenutek min hamoker, that's something coarsened and torn away from its source. Le'umazois, as opposed to this, mashmos Hashem Masei, the indication of the name Masei, traveling, journeys. Haisrachkus muchletes min hamokim hakoidim, a total distancing from the previous place, viskarvus l'eretz hakodesh, and coming close to the Holy Land. L'mokim naila yoser, to a much higher place. Va'avodas Hashem, the service of the Eibishter, hakavana hi l'nesiya va'alicha she'ela magia neshama. The intention and the meaning is a type of travel and going and journey that to that the neshama reaches be'emtsas yiridas olamata ba'ifin shalmatas, via its descent down here below. That now down here below it's separated from its source externally, in a way like a stick is separated from the tree. So too, the travel is a result of its descent down here below. This means to say, only through the descent, the neshama reaches a much higher level than before its descent. So before its descent, the neshama is called standing, just like the malachim are called standing, like it says that he told the Navi, I will make you a traveler amongst these standing ones. Because the service of the neshama, when it's above in Gan Eden, in the love of Hashem and the awe of Hashem, is a limited type of love and awe. And therefore it's called standing still. You're not really leaving your place because it's still a limited avoid. Even when the neshama goes up to a higher level, it still didn't distance itself totally from its previous state. That's why this is called standing. But through the neshama descending down here below, the guf and nefesh in the body and the animal soul, the b'chinas matis in the way of a stick. And through the stick, through the body, through the animal soul, it fulfills Torah mitzvahs. The wisdom and will of Hashem. It reaches to the level of a travel. It becomes a traveler, nihilist, so much higher, incomparably so, al dargas al lifnechen, and its level beforehand, I say, so too, it's in the general way. The Parshas Masei, that the reward for it is the descent is hinted in Parshas Matos, and the reward for it is hinted in Parshas Masei. And the Rebbe goes on to say that really we find this in both things. Let's see, like it's okay. More specifically, sorry for going pages back and forth. It's hinted also the descent of neshama and also his service, haschar v'aliyah, the reward and its ascent. Heim the Parshas Matos, v'heim the Parshas Masei, both in Parshas Matos and Parshas Masei k'lahalon, as we will explain going on. Hakushi v'achayzik shel Matos. The hardness and the strength of Matos doesn't just indicate the cutting off and the removal, the distancing of the neshama from godliness, but a mata, a stick, also indicates a good hardness. It also indicates the power and the strength of the service that needs to be accomplished through Yidden down here below. To be able to overcome the power and strength of the animal soul and the body, and also to be able to overcome the world in general. One needs to stand with the strength of a stick, a strong stick. A person should not become affected by Stadium to overcome all concealments and all covering over. Kasher Yehudi Mekaimas Avodos B'Torah Mitzvahs Lamata Ba'ois. When a Yid fulfills his avoidant Torah mitzvahs down here below with strength, Vein and Nivel Makola Stadium, he's not shocked and not taken aback from all the concealments. Harigam Haschore V'Chinas Mata. Also, his reward is in the way of a staff. When it toisov l'neshama koyach minsharsha, it's added to neshama power from its root. Me eson shebeneshama, from the what's called the eson, the mightiness of the neshama, the core strength of the neshama. Yoiser memashoyel neshama kasharoisel amaylo k'yashevet, more so than what the neshama experienced when it was above in a way of a shoot, a shevet that was still connected to the tree. Similar to this is also hinted everything in Masei, in journeys. Top of the next page. Masei Loshen Rabim, journeys in the plural. It's indicating and hinting also the traveling of the neshama from above to below to this world. Gam lekach shetzricha litzbasei de Yisrael lamata avoida b'derech shel masa v'aliyah b'darga l'darga. It also hints that what the avoida that has to be accomplished through the Yidden, avoida in a way of traveling and going from above higher and higher. And also the reward that the neshama receives is in a way of traveling. Its elevation is in a way of travel. The Rebbe goes on to say that based on this, it's understood the connection with Bein HaMetzarim. Lefi Hamar Le'el Movin HaKesher and Parshas Matos Masei Bein HaMetzarim. According to the above, is understood the connection between Matos Masei to the 3 weeks. The existence of these two things, of Matos Masei, which is Yeridas HaNeshama Lamata, the descent of the Neshama down here below, v'tafkido in its job, to fulfill it and accomplish its mission of its service with full power and strength. And also the reward that results from it. When does this exist? This type of strength that we need to have, and therefore the result that comes out from that strength. Is primarily in the time of Geulah. In the time that the 3 weeks indicate, the 3 weeks indicates the time of Geulah. Well, this is not so much this idea that the power of the neshama comes to fruition and the power of the neshama is revealed and a person needs to deal and get the power of the neshama just by its very descent down here below. This mana bias in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, when there were 10 miracles that occurred in the Beis Hamikdash. When the Yidden saw and they heard godliness in a revealed way. Therefore, they were constantly in a state of bittul and cleaving to godliness. Like it says that just like they came to see, so too they came to be seen. So it was a connection with godliness that they experienced in the Beis Hamikdash like no other place, no other time. And their service to Hashem was with a love and awe to godliness. For such a type of avodah, it's impossible to say that they were like a mata, like a staff, disconnected from the tree. Ella, but yeshevet, they were rather like a shevet, like a shoot, bound up to the root and to the body of the tree. Therefore, in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, they did not need special strength and might to fulfill the avoid of Torah mitzvahs. And therefore, it's understood from this that the might of the neshama, the powerful core essence of the neshama, also did not have reason to become revealed because there wasn't such a big challenge that they had to overcome, that they had to call forth inner powers of the neshama. But during the time of exile, when godliness is not visible and heard and felt, like in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, so there exists so many concealments and covering on godliness. Then the Yidden are like staff, like a stick. They're cleaving to godliness is not revealed. So then they have to reveal within themselves a much greater strength and power to be able to overcome any disturbances in the avoid of Torah mitzvahs. And specifically, they need to come on to a very great strength and power to not just withstand all of these problems, not just deal with all of these difficulties, but even more so, and especially to transform the darkness of the Geulah to light. You need to have a special power of the soul. Therefore, also the reward at that time is in the way of a staff. The power of the essence of the soul becomes even more revealed. Then, in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, and even more so than when the Neshama is above. But all of this is in the way of Masei, in the way of traveling, in the way of going. The Masei also concerning all the other things of Masei, of traveling. Then the Rebbe goes on and speaks about the special power and the special indication when the Matos and Masei are together. And he says that when Matos and Masei are together, so then you have this an even more powerful message. So let's see it inside. Kol Amar Le'il, everything that we just now said, Kaim b'Parshas Matos and Masei Gam b'Fnei Atzmam exists also when Matos and Masei are read individually and separately, separate Shaboos. When they're not joined together. But in the majority of years, when Matos and Masei are joined, there is an increase, an addition, not just in the lesson, but also in the empowerment that should call achas mashpia al acheres. Each one of these affects the other. In a year where Matos and Masei are together, then we're given unique powers, even more so than when Matos and Masei are separate. That the avodah should be much higher. But on the other hand, the Yachidim Zois, along with this, it will actually happen and occur in a much easier way than if it would just be Matos and Masei separate. When Matos and Masei are together, so then it's emphasized already in the descent that it's already emphasized that it's already traveling. Hashem arranged it in such a way, literal traveling and journeys in the wilderness. That it was that by the mouth of Hashem, by Hashem's directive, that they traveled. All the journeys in the Midbar were directed by Hashem. This adds strength to our avodah in Golus when we realize that the fact that we find ourselves in Golus and all of our journeys in Golus and all of our journeys in life are all being arranged by and directed by Hashem Himself. So to the avodah of the staff of the kasher he biyachid in Masei, where it's along with the journeys. The Torah gives a unique power and strength. That all the effects and all the accomplishments of a Yid in the time of Golus, they will have the full strength of a staff, of a stick, that whatever a Yid accomplishes will be completely strong and powerful, and in a way of traveling. His alus acher his alus betoikiv shel matos, an elevation after elevation with the full strength of matos. And then the Rebbe goes on to say, so too in the third idea of the matos, the power of the root of the neshama is that's revealed in the service of the staffs. It's revealed as a much higher level, the root of the neshama. That through that it reaches a much more powerful level than the neshama has on its own. During the time of Geulah, the neshama rises up to even greater than where it came from. To godliness that's without a boundary. Until he becomes completely joined with the body of the king. It's joined with Hashem's very essence. On the other hand, the reward and the traveling of the neshama, it's not at a separate time. Later on, after the person does what he does, then he's going to travel. No. At the very time that he's dealing with the overcoming and the power that he needs during the time of Geulah, he has that Masei. It comes along with the staff. Also, when a Yid finds himself down here below, he doesn't have to wait till after 120. Right now, here down here below, it already occurs the level of the elevation, the ascent. The Rebbe goes on to explain now the connection with all the parshas of Pinchas and Balak. The Fiza Yuvan Akesha should be Siruf Matos and Masei Lebein Kriyas Parshas Pinchas Ubein Amitzadim Ulfam Gam Parshas Balak Kibutu Pis Shanazu. According to this, understood the connection between when Matos Masei are joined to the fact that we read Parshas Pinchas during the 3 weeks, and sometimes, like this year, also Parshas Balak. Seemingly a question arises. How is it possible to demand from a Yid that in every trip he should stand with the strength of a staff? There are differences in the journeys of a Yid throughout the days of his life. Yes, aliyahs, v'yeridas, there is ascents and descents. They could change from one extreme to another extreme. When a Yid finds himself that they traveled out of Ramses, they're going out of Mitzrayim. They were in a raised up hand to the eyes of all the Egyptians. Or they were traveled that brought to the wilderness of Sinai. It's understood. It's possible to be demanded from a person to have the power and strength to go up high in Kedusha. How is it possible to demand from a Yid such power and such strength of character to be like a strong staff? When he's on a journey, like the place of Risma, that Risma, it's explained the Chazal al Shem Lashon Hara Shal Meraglim, it was because of the gossiping of the Meraglim, the spies against Eretz Yisrael, or in the place of Evel Hashitim, HaKosher L'Chet Pa'ir, is connected with the sin of the Pa'ir. So if a person is dealing with certain areas in his journey that are seemingly negative things, how can we say it's in the full strength of a stick of a matzah? So we have something that precedes it. We have Parshas Pinchas. Al kachat shuvi. For this, the response is Parshas Pinchas. Kasher ha'oiz ba'avoida neveya memitziyusai shaloi. When the strength of the avoida comes out of his own mitzias, it's because of who I am. I'm very strong-willed. I am disciplined. Therefore, if that's the source of where he's doing his avodah strongly, that could fluctuate. then he cannot be in all the travels in the same way. Because a person is limited and therefore there are changes. But when his strength and might is like Pinchas, Bekane is Kinasi, that Pinchas avenged God's anger, who is Yatzer, Mesiras Nefesh, Neged Kol Yisrael. He stood with the strength of self-sacrifice against and in front of all Jewish people. Kasher Kayemes, Eitzel Yehudi, Mesiras Nefesh, when a Jew has self-sacrifice, Yitziyam and Mitzius Shaloi, he's leaving his own being. Then there's no difference between one journey and another journey. And always the fulfillment of Hashem's command is with the same power. Let's skip a little bit further. There's a lot more details that Rebbe goes into this. It says, like we mentioned previously, Yesh inyan min yuchad noisef, there's something unique, additional, shakasher matis umasei mechubares, when matis and masei are joined, chol leitim k'b'shana zu, sometimes it comes out, like in this year, yoyim harishon b'mea bein mitzarim, Ivasar b'Tammuz, the first day of the Bein HaMitzarim, which is the 17th of Tammuz, v'chein yoyim ha'achron Tisha B'Av b'Shabbos. The final day of the 3 weeks is also on Shabbos, which is Parshas Balak. It was the 17th of Tammuz. Hezber l'kach, the explanation for this, v'akesher lahezber ha'koidem al tziruf matas masehu, and the connection with the previous explanation of the joining of Matos and Masei, Hakavonna ha'ikris beyiridus ha'neshama l'mata, the main intention and the descent of the neshama down here below. B'miyuchad begala, specifically in the exile, b'chinas matis, in the level of matis, he kedivri ad morazakim b'tanya, like the words of the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, ha'neshama atzma eina tzricha tikkun klal. The neshama itself did not come down here because it needs any fixing up. It's perfect. It descended to repair the body and the animal soul, and the portion of this world that is that person's individual mission of the entire world was a portion to this person to elevate. Moving from this understood, therefore, the main avoida, with the strength of the staff, and so to the true reward, Siruf Matos and Masei, the combining of Matos and Masei in the avoida down here below, it's not only the neshama overpowering the concealments of the body and the animal soul and the darkness of Golos, primarily the service of sublimating, subjugating the klippa and transforming to transform the animal soul and to transform the darkness of the exile that's outside of the neshama. This power of the neshama when it descends down here below. And the power that comes about in it via the concealments of the Nefesh Bahamis in the world. These are not something novel that the neshama has this power. The neshama is godliness. It's not caused through it a complete and perfect type of ascent. When we use the matos, the strength of the nefesh elokis, to sublimate and to transform the animal soul to good, the opposite of its nature, through that the entire form of the nefesh bahamis loses itself entirely and becomes transformed to a godly form. And specifically through the transformation of the darkness of exile, as negremes aliyah bilti mugbela. So then it's affected an ascent that's without boundaries, mushlemes, a perfect ascent. Gam benefshalakis, that the godly soul reaches a height that's incomparable. Ba'oifin shal b'chol ma'idecha, in a way of all your might, yosim and ama'oid shal nefshalakis, greater than the might and the infinite power of the godly soul. Because only when it transforms darkness to light, as we mentioned before, then the Jew becomes totally united with Hashem's essence. And now to the matter of joy that this hints at. With this understood the indication and the lesson of the 17th of Tammuz. The first day of Bein HaMitzorim comes out on Shabbos Parshas Bolok. The goal and the purpose. Let's not forget what the purpose is. The purpose is of these 3 weeks. I will transform, Hashem says, their mourning to rejoicing. And not just the general period of the 3 weeks, but that the days of the fasting itself, the Shivasar B'Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, should be transformed to days of rejoicing and happiness. The Rebbe goes on to say, we could say, this matter is hinted in the fact that Hashem showed a hint for the 3 weeks by the fact that there is an almond branch, and he played off of the word shakid, which means almonds. Shakid is also from the word shkida, diligence, quickness, alacrity. He shakid ani al dvarei la'asoisoi, that I am diligent to do the matter. Like the words of Chazal, it hints at the 21 days of the 3 weeks. Just like the fruit of the almond, from the time that it sprouts until it ripens, it takes 21 days. So what's the point? In the simple sense, it seems to be a negative, that from the breaching of the walls on Shavasar B'Tammuz till the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash on Tisha B'Av, it was very quick, like an almond. It took 21 days. So the Rebbe says there's a deeper indication. With this, Hashem hints not just to the opposite of good, but a destruction, primarily to the purpose of what the Bein HaMitzorim is about. It should be an almond branch, an almond stick, because of the advantage of an almond stick. Like the Alter Rebbe explains, that when the different Nesim, like we said, put out their staffs outside of the oil moed, when there was the dispute against Aaron, and the staff of Aaron blossomed and it gave forth almonds. Why specifically almonds? Why not any other fruit could have been given forth from Aaron's staff? The reason why it was specifically almonds, that was a positive thing of the almonds. It indicates that the idea of the kohen and the idea of birchas kohen, the brachos of the kahanim, is about the quickness and the speed and the powerful hashpah that comes down here below. The reason why hashpah and flow comes down from the spiritual worlds very quickly, it's because it starts off with full power. So just like the Alter Rebbe explains that concerning when it comes to the staff of Aaron, that it grew almonds, the same thing, the almond stick of Yirmiyahu is trying to indicate the powerful revelation that's waiting there to be revealed in the time of the 3 weeks. When the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av fall on Shabbos, so then Shabbos pushes away the fast day. In addition to the fact that it pushes away the fast day, as we said before, it transforms a day that, though the 3 weeks is supposed to be days of mourning, Shabbos transforms the day into a day that's a mitzvah to be joyful. It's a mitzvah to delight in that day. Similar to the matter that I will transform their mourning into rejoicing. So Shabbos, we have a taste of what the 3 weeks are really about. It's an expression of the mission of the 3 weeks. The mission of the 3 weeks is to get to a period of time when the sadness in the morning will be transformed to rejoicing. On Shabbos, we experience that. And in this time around, the beginning and the end of the 3 weeks, the most severe times of the 3 weeks, the fast days of the 3 weeks, which means the greatest time of the morning of the 3 weeks, those themselves are pushed away by Shabbos. Those themselves are turned into rejoicing. This is specifically so. The idea of rejoicing and delight is the content of Shabbos in general. Like it says in the Medrash al Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos, on the Pasuk it says Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos, which is the Shir Shal Yom that we say every Shabbos. Why is it called Yom HaShabbos? Lamash bis mazikim min ha'olam. Shabbos means the day when he ceases all things that will hurt and damage from the world, which is talking about Mashiach's times, that all those animals that hurt will cease hurting or will cease being able to hurt, whatever. But Tzemach Tzedek masbir zois. And the Tzemach Tzedek explains it's not just stopping, like we say, the sadness is being pushed away, but really, Tzemach Tzedek explains, the perfection of the Shabbos is the transforming of those damaging things to good. So too was also in Shabbos at the beginning of creation. Also in the physical. Like the Chazal say, from Friday morning till Masei Shabbos, for 36 hours the light was illuminating. What does that mean? That Shabbos, darkness was transformed to light. That Friday night was light instead of darkness. The perfection of Shabbos is the transformation of the days of the 3 weeks in a revealed way. Just like just like the beginning of creation, there was a transformance of the darkness of the night to light. Like it says about Mashiach's times, that the night will be illuminated like day. Just the opposite of the exile and the 3 weeks. That time, the day is even turned into light. Into night, sorry. Kach Yoitze comes out. When the 17th of Tammuz, the beginning of the 3 weeks, comes out on Shabbos. So what occurs is the prefacing of the healing to the wound, like we said before, the medicine before the injury of the Bein HaMetzarim. Before we even have the sad days, the days are immediately transformed and right away at the beginning to days of rejoicing. This fact that the first Shabbos of the 3 weeks is a day of rejoicing, the first day of the 3 weeks is Shabbos, which is a day of rejoicing. This eases the service of the person in the days of the 3 weeks. It eases the avoid of Matos and Masei and how they're combined together. Kimus Barlel explained previously, and the transformation of Nefesh Habamis and Golos. So too, from the perspective of the Parsha of Torah, Parsha Bolok, that's the first Parsha read during the 3 weeks. That the content of the Parsha is the brachas that Bilam gave the Bnei Yisrael. It was in such a manner that Hashem did not want to listen to Bilam. He transformed the curses of Bilam into bracha to such a degree that the Chazal say that by looking at the brachas of Bilam, you could know what he had in mind in his klolos. It means that the very klol itself, it wasn't just, okay, Hashem stopped Bilam from cursing the Yidden and instead made Bilam blessed. He took the very curses of Bilam, and those are transformed into a bracha. Not just the very thing that Hashem transformed for you, the curse into a blessing. This was specifically, who was the one that was the channel for this? Bilam. It wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu, let's say, taking the curses of Bilam and making it a bracha. Just the opposite. Bilam was the polar opposite of Negudia Shal Moshe. He was the opposite of Moshe. He was the nemesis of Moshe. He was the total, complete opposite of Moshe. The total opposite of holiness. So the total opposite of holiness itself was the vehicle for the transformation of darkness to light, of Klala to Brach. In addition to that, what was that the conclusion of his prophecy? The conclusion of his prophecy was he's going to tell us what's happening at the end of days, meaning he told us and related about the redemption through Mashiach, like the explanation of the Rambam about what Bilam was talking about. That at that time it won't just be a Klola transformed into a bracha or a Shabbos in the middle of the Bein HaMetzarim, but the actual taking the Yidden out of Golus, and from the time of the 3 weeks total. So now the Rebbe concludes, Kasher Kola and Yonam Alolam Star from B'Yachad. When all of these come together, like the expression in English, a perfect storm, have all of these things, Matos and Masei Mechubaros, they are joined. Therefore, we also have Parshas Pinchas is read also between the 3 weeks. Specifically, when the beginning of Bein HaMetzarim is in the Shabbos Parshas Balak. It's even more sensed and felt the idea that these days will be transformed to rejoicing and happiness. From the almond branch, Titzmach Hashkida L'Toiva will blossom and sprout forth the positive diligence, Shkidas Hagula, the diligence and the quickness of the redemption. I have been diligent to bring in my children to Eretz Yisrael. Immediately it's brought down at the beginning of the Medrash Rabban Echa, B'Shaita Chada, B'Riga Chada. In 1 moment, in 1 hour, 1 moment, Tia Gulai de Mashiach Tzidkeinu Lamat Masarat Tvachim will be the redemption through Mashiach Tzidkeinu down here below 10 handbreadths. Should be immediately today, even before.
Amen, amen. Thank you. Beautiful. Wow. Amazing. Gaya, thank you.